AI search optimization is not the future because it's already here, and for this reason, you've probably seen some people trying to rebrand SEO as GEO or AEO. But the biggest question is, how are these different from traditional SEO? Today, you're going to learn everything you need to know to get ahead of your competitors, and I'll show you some actionable moves you can make to start seeing AI search traffic growth like this. Let's get right into it. All right, so if you follow any SEO professionals on X or LinkedIn or any social media platforms, even YouTube, you've probably started to see some acronyms that are popping up like this. We have search everywhere optimization. We know the classic SEO, generative engine optimization, GEO, answer engine optimization, large language model optimization, and so on and so forth. All these different acronyms. And so right now it's getting incredibly complex to try to figure out like what is the thing that we should focus on. Now, there is some good news. You can take all of these acronyms and you can put them into a single bucket, which is AI search optimization. Okay, so I would view this as the broader bucket of what we're going to be doing. Okay, and so for me, I've already begun doing this. Actually, even when ChatGPT first started coming out, I started adjusting a lot of my strategies, and that was in November 2022. But it continually gets more and more aggressive with us having to adjust and pivot what we're doing. And, as you're going to see here, this is very different than before in many ways. A lot of similarities. I shouldn't say very different. There's a lot of similarities, but there's some distinct differences as far as the goals of AI search optimization and also some of the practical elements. So here's a little bit broader analysis. Okay, so first we have Google. As of right now, Google is still the number one player, even in the context of AI search, okay? Because now they launched AI mode, which is probably going to be their default search experience going forward. And they're pushing it all, through advertising all over their actual Google search. Now they're now promoting it directly inside of there. It's showing up in incognito window. You don't even need to be logged in to see it. The writing is on the wall, okay? That's going to be the future for them. And there's a good chance that it could save them, right? This could be the thing that keeps Google that dominant force. Time will tell, and I'm not trying to make predictions, but as of right now, Google is the key player that we have to focus on. Now, the main product within Google that we got to get really good at is Google's AI mode. Okay, as I mentioned, this is going to be the key thing that's going to drive most brand awareness, some high quality traffic, and it needs to be the thing that we need to figure out. And I'll show you what we need to do. And then we also have Google Gemini. Okay, so Gemini is the separate product that functions more like it's individual large language model, similar to ChatGPT, Claude, the others. Okay. Once you see what I'm about to show you, if you understand one, you're probably going to understand most of the other ones. Now, the other question might be as far as Google's AI overviews. We'll talk more about that, but I would suspect that as far as product usage, the AI mode will probably be used a lot more, okay? Then we also have ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is now the 5th most popular website on the internet. We need to know how to get awareness and performance on this platform. It's literally critical. So I'll be talking more about that here in a second. And then we've got a bunch of other large language models that are also very important to pay attention to. We've got Grok, we've got Perplexity, we've got Microsoft Copilot, we have Claude, we have DeepSeek, and we have Meta AI. Okay, so this is what right now, as of 2025, and this could change in a month, given how fast things change in this industry. This needs to be our focus. We have to figure out, how do we drive brand awareness across all of these different platforms, and how do we show up when searchers are using these platforms? Okay, the good news is that the general action of searching is not going anywhere. It's just how people are searching is changing. The queries are much more complex. Some people are using full paragraphs. There's a lot of it, the behavior is changing, but the general principle of search is exactly the same. People are going to these platforms to find solutions to their problems. We need to show up when they are looking. That is the goal of optimization on these platforms now, okay? So this is what I want to show you real quick, just to kind of make some light of this, all right? So this is the Dunning-Kruger effect, basically. But essentially, you'll see that we have all of this complexity here. And when someone doesn't really know what's going on, they make things incredibly complex. Someone that barely knows anything knows, they don't know what they don't know, right? So they just simplify things. But people who are expert level also will simplify because they realize that the complexity actually is just a kind of a surface level understanding of what's going on. So in my opinion, this is totally my opinion. Everyone has their own and different acronyms they like to use. But for me, I'm looking at this whole landscape as AI search optimization. That's what I'm going to be talking about going forward. Okay. And I don't disagree, by the way, with GEO or AE. I don't disagree with any of the concepts. I know there's distinct differences, but for me, I'm looking much more broadly. What's the umbrella for all the stuff that we're doing? Okay. So as we know, what you're looking at here, you can click on the web tab. I've showed this example before, but this is what we used to do for SEO. We used to try to make pages and rank in a set of blue links. Okay, that used to be what we do. Now there's still utility in this index of blue links still has value. Okay, and I'll explain why. But as far as us ranking here as our core objective, that's over. And also, this has not been the case for a very long time anyway. Like it hasn't looked like this I don't even remember when it used to look like this, a long, long time ago, because it's really looked more like this, even in Google, where you have all kinds of different SERP features that are showing up that make the results incredibly complex. Okay. And so this has already been happening. And also, this is the way it used to be, which is we could just focus on the SEO, search engine optimization, which is really just for a long time was just Google SEO, right? And in fact, SEO has become synonymous with Google, even though it technically was never just about Google, but that's just because Google's dominated the search market share. So it just became synonymous. That's not the case anymore. Okay. Because back in the day, you could just use SEO. That's it. Just one core channel to build a business. You could build a very, very successful business just by focusing on Google, and that's it. That would be incredibly dangerous now. I would not recommend that basically for any business. I just don't see a situation where that would be smart at all. Okay, so this is one thing that's very important is because there's so much change going on, and I talk to so many agencies that are working with clients. I know from the back end of the clients that we're working with and all the projects that we're working on, a lot of businesses are very confused because their traffic's falling a lot, right? So they're doing a lot of them are doing a lot of the right stuff, but traffic is falling, impressions are going up, clicks are going down. It's a very strange situation. And the thing that we have to start thinking about is the past is irrelevant now. All of the stuff that we did in the past for traditional SEO, those skills that we accumulated and developed are still going to help us going forward. But as far as the results, I would just pretend like those results never existed. And if you're a business, just pretend that you're starting at ground zero. That's it. And now we're going to start to build the blocks to then be successful in this AI search environment. Okay. It's just much easier because if you're hoping that you're going to regain that lost traffic, you're going to be very, very sad because it's not coming back. It's just not coming back. Traffic, the focus on quantity of traffic, I've talked about this for a very long time, has always been a bad KPI. You shouldn't be focused on the quantity of traffic that you're getting. You should be focusing on the quality of the traffic that you're getting. That's why you want to focus at the bottom of the funnel and then work your way up. Always start at the bottom where the money is made. Don't just focus on the vanity metrics. This is even more important of a concept now. The vanity metrics are dead. You're not going to rank for you could rank for informational stuff. You're just not going to get traffic for it. So it's going to be pretty pointless for the large majority of keywords. So pretend you're starting at zero. Now we're going to focus on building our visibility across these AI platforms. There is good news. The AI platforms, when they do drive traffic, tends to be extremely high quality. It's converting at a much higher rate than just your standard traditional search traffic because there's a lot more intent. There's one particular chat, one chat on ChatGPT, for example, for a user could send them through the whole funnel end to end in about 10 minutes. They can go from totally unaware all the way to product aware in 10 minutes, and you can actually close deals that way. Okay, so the sky is not falling. All that's changing is how we're doing stuff. Okay. This is a quote that I like to think about a lot. Wayne Gretzky. I skate where the puck is going to be, not where it has been. Okay. You want to be thinking many steps ahead. You have to be playing chess if you want to beat everyone else who's still playing checkers. Okay, so it's a very simple concept, but we have to be careful. If you go too far in the future, you're going to miss out on what's currently happening right now. So you have to walk a fine line where you see where things are going, but you don't overcorrect too far. Okay. So an example of this is what I believe Google search will turn into. So when we think about optimizing for Google search, this is what I believe the makeup will be. Not, these are obviously just made up percentages, but just generally, this is kind of how I think it will, end up being, which is like, let's say 50% of the searches that occur on Google are going to be through AI mode / AI overviews. So essentially some sort of AI function that users are engaging with in that, particular Google product. The other is the local pack. So Google business profiles, they're not going anywhere, okay? Because they are still a critical piece of local SEO, in particular in Google. But here's the cool, I don't want to say the cool part, but the part that's interesting is the local pack, like your Google business profile, gets used a lot in AI mode. Okay. So these are not mutually exclusive. It's not one or the other. It's combined together. If you want to get good performance in the AI mode for local queries, you need to have a Google business profile. Okay. That's just like going to be necessary going forward. And then, a little sliver of the pie is the traditional search engine. Like I showed you, the 10 blue links, lots of, search features, that whole section of search, let's say 10% or less of the product usage, in my opinion, is what it will be. Just based on what we've seen over the last, 2-ish, 3 years of large language models, it's a pretty easy prediction. But here's the reality of today. I went and looked at every single Google Analytics account for every campaign that we're working on. I looked at hundreds and hundreds and millions of visitors that are going through these accounts. Okay. Millions. And this was like, I just did it like a couple days ago. Okay. Based on my early analysis of this, I found that only 1% or less of organic traffic comes from ChatGPT or LLMs. Okay. The other 99% comes from Google, Bing, Yahoo, DuckDuckGo. Okay. Now that will change. This is still very early, and this data is not 100% accurate because ChatGPT just started having attribution. So when you go into ChatGPT and you click on a link, now it will actually inform inside of analytics that traffic came from ChatGPT. Before, it could have been coming as direct traffic. It could have been coming as referral traffic. The data was all skewed. So this is probably largely underreported. But in general, Google's still really driving most organic traffic across most accounts I'm seeing. That does not mean that's going to be the same forever. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, this is one account that I pulled where you can see, like, over time, more and more it's slow, right? Not a ton of traffic, but we're not focused on the quantity of traffic anymore. We're focused on the quality of the traffic that is coming in. And as you can tell, we already see fragmentation with the large language model sending traffic. It's not just Google sending. It's ChatGPT, it's Perplexity, it's Gemini, it's Claude. It's all of these different platforms combined that are sending traffic. And you see the trend, like we are trending upward. And this is going to continue to go up. Okay. And so I'll be showing you today how we can, influence these platforms more. All right. So another big key point here is that ChatGPT, it seems like every single month it goes up another spot on the top 10 lists. I've reported on this many times since ChatGPT launch. I've showed screenshots like this of where they've been. So you can go back and look and see the progression of how fast it's grown. But, probably in the next couple of months, it's probably going to pass Instagram, which is honestly insane considering Instagram's a social media platform. ChatGPT is not, and it's about to surpass it. It's got a long way to go. It has to basically get double the amount of visits to get to Facebook. And then obviously YouTube and Google are super far out there as far as passing them. That's a many, many years where they might be able to catch up. But it's entirely possible that within the next 2 to 3 years, ChatGPT could be probably the number 3 most popular website on the internet. So We have to view these platforms as marketing opportunities. That's it. So when we look at these platforms, can we market on Google? Yes. Can we market on YouTube? Yes. Can we market on Facebook, Instagram, ChatGPT, Reddit, X, Bing, Amazon, and Yahoo? Okay. Almost every single one of these top 12 most popular websites, we can actually get traffic and brand awareness in. That's how we should be thinking. Much more broadly focused. Okay. And Wikipedia too, but it's a little more complicated. And then there's a post here from one of my buddies on LinkedIn here. And I just really agreed with this a lot because I think the challenge is, I was going back to, starting with ground zero, starting with a clean slate. He's describing a very similar situation. I won't read the whole thing, but essentially we don't do a lot of this stuff like creating content on YouTube, for example. I'm creating content on YouTube. I'm not necessarily doing it for traffic, right? Like I'm creating content to build brand awareness. I'm creating content to get people to know who I am and know who our brands are. It's for brand awareness purpose, get people to know, like, and trust you. Okay. And if you do that well, people go to Google, people go to ChatGPT, people go to these other platforms to learn more about you. Okay. The sales cycle is not a linear process anymore. It's very crazy and out of control. Maybe someone watches a YouTube video. Then they listen to a podcast I was interviewed on. Then they look at a bunch of my LinkedIn posts. Then they, read about me on Reddit. And then they go to ChatGPT. Like, you get the point. This is why it shows that you need to be focusing more on building a brand. That is the key. All these platforms are opportunities to build brand. If we do that well, they go to these search platforms to learn more about us. So the broader umbrella, aside from AI search, is what I would call search everywhere optimization. I did not invent this. Many people have been saying this already. I've been talking about it for a long time because I saw the writing on the wall with Google SERPs. But in general, this is the makeup of what search everywhere optimization is going to look like. Okay. So we have large language models. We have Google, its own, I put in its own bucket because it has so many products where you can drive awareness, AI mode, AI overviews, local pack, traditional. It's a lot. Okay. It's still a huge, huge platform, as you just saw previously. And then the social platforms, you have YouTube, Reddit, Pinterest, X, LinkedIn, whichever ones are relevant to your brand. Okay. So, but for the sake of this video, I'm not going to get into the social side. We'll just talk about AI search in particular. This is what search everywhere can look like in a practical environment. So I sell products and books, and I have content about starting an SEO agency. Okay. Going forward, I'm going to have more stuff about starting a more modern AI SEO agency or a modern AI search agency. Okay, that's coming up here soon. But in general, this is what a full omnipresent attack looks like. Okay, so you're going to maybe run some ads. You're going to try to rank in the traditional. You're going to try to rank on Amazon and YouTube. Try to rank in the the different search sections. You're going to rank obviously on LinkedIn. And now with the AI search stuff I'm going to be showing you, you're going to rank in ChatGPT and all these other platforms. Okay, that's the idea of what we're trying to do. All right, so what we're going to focus on today is AI search optimization. And I want you to look kind of at how this pie is. Just using the 80-20 rule as of right now, my opinion of this could change tomorrow. It could, I just go wherever the demand is. I am not romantic about any of these platforms. I honestly don't care about any of the platforms. All I care about is learning how to drive brand awareness for our brands and our clients' brands. That's it. I don't care where it is. But as of right now, Google's still the dominant force. It hasn't changed quite yet. It is changing. ChatGPT is chipping away slowly, but I don't know how far it will go. So as of right now, probably 80% of your attention, your focus should be on Google, just in general. So AI mode, AI overviews, and Gemini. Okay. So that's the AI search environment for Google, and then the LLMs, right? So the first thing that we have to figure out is what's the goal of AI search optimization? It's different than what it used to be for traditional SEO. The goal of traditional SEO was simply to get relevant traffic. Okay. Now, this is similar, but it's more indirect. And the first goal, and I think the most critical goal here, is just getting your brand mentioned. Okay. That's all we're trying to do. We want to show up when someone searches best SEO content optimization tools. We want rankability to show up. Okay. It's that simple. So this means that if you want to succeed in these platforms, you need to build a real brand. And this is a very interesting situation because I have advocated for a very long time for traditional SEO to build EMDs or keyword rich types of domains. Those are still incredibly effective for ranking in the local pack. However, I would be very careful to do that if your objective is to rank in these AI search platforms, okay? Because the way that entities are extracted out of these, it's not going to work super well if you got a keyword rich business name. So like stlouisseoconsultant.com, like I have, that's not going to show up really well when someone searches best SEO companies. It's going to show the branded entities that show up. It's not going to show some keyword rich business name. It's just not going to do it. And we've tested hundreds and hundreds and thousands of searches on this. It's just not the case. And so that's one, kind of distinction between traditional versus showing up for your brand on these platforms. You kind of need to have a brand name. Okay, that seems to be like the consistent variable I see for the commercial driven searches on these AI search platforms. And so here's a small example from Google in particular. You'll see this is kind of what we're dealing with right now. So we've got our traditional SERPs here, which are important because yes, these traditional SERPs, to get here, you have to do a lot of the signals that are required also to get into the other platforms. So by doing well here, it's a lagging indicator that you're doing all the other stuff right. Okay. So it's not because you're ranking well, more than likely. That could be potentially a variable, but it's more probably because of the signals that are being sent that's helping you, manipulate these other products in Google. So we still have to do traditional SEO. And, in general, I think a lot of people have been trying to do like, is it SEO or GEO, or is it GEO or AEO? It's not an or type of conversation. It's not black and white. It's just and. Okay, so it's all combined together. All right, and so then we see here. This is the AI overviews. Once again, these two products here, which is traditional, and then the AI overviews, which really just functions as a SERP feature. I don't believe these will be used as much. I think the likelihood is that AI mode will be used the most. And, Google clearly wants that, right? Look at how much it's being promoted right here. Even in the AI overview, they're trying to push you to AI mode. They want to move you to the AI mode. Okay. And you can see here in the AI mode, we see brands popping up once again. Okay. So some informational content and then some brands. Okay. This is the idea. We want to show up in these brands, which then if we do that, we're going to show up in the structured results here as well. Okay, same thing on local. And then we have the other large language models out there. I actually have Gemini in here as well, but Perplexity, Grok, AI mode, Gemini, ChatGPT, and Perplexity. Okay, all of these platforms, as you're going to see here, the good news is if you do all the stuff I'm about to talk about today, you're going to influence these platforms quite well. Okay, that's the good news. All right, so the second goal, and goal number one, just to review, is to get your brand mentioned. Notice a lot of these are not linking out. No outbound links in a lot of the cases. Okay, so it shows that we have to get our brand mentioned, and then eventually that will likely lead to some sort of conversion, either on our website or on one of our partner websites. Could be Amazon, could be anywhere where we're selling our products. Okay. All right. AI search goal number 2, become the source. Okay. So this is the other part that's important, but not as important as the first goal. Okay. This is the most important goal, is getting your brand mentioned. Hands down. That's where you're going to make money. That's what matters. This is it's a second goal, but it's way far behind the first one. And this is getting cited. Okay. And the reason why I don't say this is a great goal to have is because, unfortunately, because the way these platforms are designed is all of these citations you see here are the byproduct of these platforms searching themselves. They're searching, they're surfacing these citations, they're crawling these citations, and they're producing an output to answer the query that the searcher conducted. That meaning the searcher doesn't need to learn anymore, right? Like they don't need to click. They got their answer. So you're not going to get a lot of CTR on these. It's very, very unlikely that there's going to be a lot of searchers that are going to get an answer to their question and they're going to be just, oh no, that's not. And they're going to go do super deep research. It's probably not going to happen. In fact, most search behavior probably in the future will be largely agent based. The agent goes and does the searching for you. it comes back, it reports to you what it found, and then you have a dialogue with the chat to, solve whatever problem you have, right? You're not likely going to be doing your own manual research, probably, very much. And like I said, I'm talking very much in the future, not right now, but I think that's probably where it's going to go. Okay. Now there is some interesting stuff with the citations, some crossover. Okay. So in the traditional search, you see that it crosses over into the AI mode. So these two Reddit, this one Reddit example here, we see that Under Armour is in all three, same exact URL in all three. Okay. So you could argue that ranking well in the traditional increases your odds of showing up in the citations. No guarantee though, because if you look at the citations in the AI overviews and you look at the citations in the AI mode, there's not a lot of crossover, not as much as you might think. And I've been seeing a lot of people saying, oh, just rank in traditional and then you'll rank in. That's just not true. Like when you look at this, it's not the same. There's a lot of different citations going on. Now, maybe they're all ranked differently and they're there somewhere, but in general, the top ranking citations are different. Okay. The top ranking results are different, meaning these products are looking at different things. They're measuring different stuff. In the large language models, the standard large language models, there also is not a lot of crossover either. There is more. You can see Perplexity and ChatGPT has a lot of crossover as far as their citations, which makes sense because Perplexity uses OpenAI for their results. Okay, so this crossover makes a lot of sense. But the other ones, not so much. Right? You're not going to see a ton. Like Grok has some pretty good crossover with Claude, but then, you look at the AI mode, Google's AI mode doesn't have a lot of crossover at all with any of the other platforms. So it's very, very different the way that these platforms are working. But in general, there is some general observations anecdotally that you can look at here. Okay. Number one, YouTube. So having your own YouTube channel where you focus on your core topics, or getting cited on other YouTube channels, that's going to be a good idea. Reddit, you should be building a presence there. You should be active on Reddit. It shows up a lot. Number two is the keyword rich type of businesses do tend to show up in the citations. They don't tend to show up in the brand mentions, but they tend to show up in the citations, meaning these platforms are, I hate to say this, just stealing their content and putting it into the response, and they're citing them, but they're just using it to answer the question, right? So that's just the nature of what's going on. And in general, relevance is always going to be important. Okay. So building relevance on your website, building relevance on your YouTube channel and your link, like you need a full relevance at all times. It's critical. Okay. Absolutely critical. All right. So how do we get more AI brand mentions? The most important signal that we can send are third-party signals. Okay, this is different than traditional SEO. Traditional SEO, we could argue is maybe 50% first-party and 50% third-party. Okay, you could argue that. There's a lot of variables in there, but in general, with AI, I would say it's probably 80%. It's probably 80% third-party signals that will influence whether your brand shows up. Okay, so that's the first part. Number two, first-party signals. Your website's still important. The stuff that you say about your brand is still important. The stuff that you control is still important, okay? Cross-channel reinforcement. This is more about how consistent your brand is across the internet. We'll talk more about that in a second. And then lastly, freshness. This is freshness of the third-party signals and the freshness of your website in general, okay? So there's some unique variables there, but freshness is key. All right, so let's start with the first one, which are third-party signals, which is what other people say about you. Okay, this is really, really critical. First, we have editorial backlinks and brand mentions. So going back to what I talked about, like what's the difference? How is this different than traditional SEO? How is traditional SEO different than GEO, generative engine optimization? Well, let's just start with the fact that search engine versus generative engine are different concepts altogether. So when people just try to say they're the same thing, they're not the same. A search engine, as we know it, is links, just 10 blue links. You do your own research. It's just an index of links. Okay. You open them up, you do your research. That's what we know as a search engine. Okay. Maybe if we're redefining what a search engine is, then yeah, okay, that's different. But as far as generative, very different. you're searching something and you're getting a response back. You're not just getting, here's a list of links, okay? You're getting an actual response back. That's generative. It's different, okay? So even just the nature of these two ideas is incredibly different. And it also shows that how they work is also different as well. Lots of similarities. So a couple examples. Inside the AI search engines, listicles, which is the first one I put, they influence these platforms like crazy. If you can get on the best SEO tools list, and you show up on that list, on many of those lists across the internet, you are going to influence these platforms. It works really, really well. So if you're not showing up, that's the first place you want to look, is how do we get visibility on these lists? Okay. That's the first one. Next one is just pure SME contribution. So being a guest contributor on all the trusted websites in your industry, also, giving expert insights specifically on these platforms. You can use a website like Featured to submit your expert insights. That's all good stuff, because you're going to create associations with your entity. So let's say Nathan Gotch is associated with Rankability. That's going to create an association on the knowledge graph, and that's probably going to help inform some of these LLMs. Okay, it's very important. Plus, you're getting cited and more than likely getting a link on these really important platforms. Okay. Next, we have interviews and podcasts. We know that the large language models do scrape transcripts. Okay. So they're not listening to your podcast. They're not watching your interview, taking it. They're extracting the transcript. They're using NLP to extract the entities out of there to understand what it's about. Okay. So interviews, podcasts, videos, if you're getting mentioned on your own stuff and also getting mentioned on other people's podcasts and videos, that's going to inform the large language models. Once again, a variable that was not considered for traditional SEO. Backlinks were the key factor. These are not backlinks. These are just literally being mentioned like across different trusted sources. Okay. And that's the key. A lot of people might hear this like, oh, well, I can just start talking about my brand a lot and just mention a lot. It's the same thing as before. Like even when it was sketchy link building practices, which I used to engage in as well, you would just get any links. It didn't matter, right? And this kind of, some people are thinking that's the same thing right now. Just get any brand mention, and it's not the same. We want to get brand mentions, links on trusted sources. Okay, that's always going to be the case as far as a quality approach. Okay, so then we have the traditional stuff that you're used to. Niche websites, local websites, get mentioned there as much as possible. Okay, trusted entities, if you can. These are always harder to get, but they're critical. If we get mentioned on Wikipedia, New York Times, and the .gov.edu, types of websites, that's going to be beneficial. Getting mentioned in research papers. You can go to Google Scholar, start searching your name, searching your brand, see what comes up. If you're not showing up, start to think about it, play around there. And then finally, influencers. Getting other experts, influencers, people who have audiences to talk about your brand, we know is critical. You don't even have to link to your brand. Just talk about your brand on LinkedIn or X or YouTube or Threads or wherever, okay? Because all these platforms are being crawled. The large language models are just taking everything and filtering it in to decide who should, how they should generate these responses. It's no longer just getting backlinks. Okay. And I've had some people talk about that before. Oh, well, it's just, just do link building and you'll do what. It's not true. It's just not true. There's way more signals that are being used than just pure backlinks. Backlinks are really important. And followed backlinks are probably the most important, but no follow backlinks are good from trusted sources. Unlinked brand mentions from these sources, also really, really helpful, more than likely. And then review and directory platforms. Okay, I put a bunch here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but in general, local, we know the platforms that you should do the standard platforms. Plus, if you are in a specific vertical, look for vertical specific directories, review platforms. Same thing with SaaS, same thing with e-com. You get the point. We need to be showing up on these directories. Okay, your brand needs to be there. And more importantly, we need to be creating reviews on the platforms that the large language models like to see in a particular industry. If you're SaaS, you should have reviews on these platforms. If you're e-com, you should have reviews on the platforms that they would expect. Okay. Ideally, like for local, obviously Google Business Profile is by far the number one most important, but don't just neglect the other platforms. We also want to be looking at review diversity, getting reviews across multiple platforms to give the LLMs more training data to work with, more proof that we're good at what we do. And then we have communities. This is an area where you can do some more guerrilla marketing. You can get in here and you can start to embed your brand in these platforms. If you want to do it in a more ethical way, in a more called white hat way, go to Reddit and just give value in the subreddits that are relevant to your brand. Give value, occasionally drop a little something in there. But in general, give value first, and then you can place, your brand in there if it makes contextual sense. And then rented assets. Goes without saying, you need to be creating content and giving value across many different platforms that are relevant to your business. If you're a plumber, do you need to be on TikTok? I don't know, right? So this is something you're gonna have to figure out. Like, Pinterest is not gonna be a good driving force for a plumber, okay? So pick the rented assets that are most appropriate for the industry, okay? All right, so now freshness. Two variables that matter a lot. Citation freshness, which is getting new links, new brand mentions that are current. If you got a bunch of really good links 3 years ago, that's great, but it's not likely to keep you afloat in these platforms because they are seeking new inputs, new freshness. And so you have to survive and continue to thrive. There's no end to this. You got to keep acquiring, you got to keep doing marketing, you got to keep acquiring, getting brand mentions. This is what is required now to perform in these platforms. And then branded search growth. This is a really good signal, not just for Google, but also the platforms, because they see, okay, this brand is getting a lot more interest. Let's say in ChatGPT, it's noticing that there's more demand for a particular brand, people searching it, it's starting to see that growth. It's probably going to give a little more weight to that. There's no proof of this, by the way. This is my anecdotal, what I think would influence it. May not, right? But it's one of those things where you should do it because it's only beneficial. So branded search growth is critical. If your branded search growth is if it is actually growing, that's an indication that your marketing is good. Okay. So keep doing what you're doing. If it's not growing, you need to look and see why that's happening. So for me, I'll give you an example. We get tons of branded queries for rankability. If you go into Google Search Console, our most, search queries are just our brand. That's not by accident. That's because I'm creating content on YouTube and other platforms where people see the brand, then they go to Google and they do a branded search, or they go to ChatGPT and do it, right? So it doesn't matter anymore. All we're doing is we're creating brand awareness, and they can go to their preferred search platform to find us and learn more about us. That's the idea. All right. And then cross-channel reinforcement, very simple. How consistent are you everywhere on the internet? Anyone that's done local SEO knows how important this is, continues to be important. Our rented assets, our business listings, our videos, our audio, our text, we need to be looking at our brand representation across all of these. Consistent NAPW information across the listings, name, address, phone number, website, founders, everything related that is going to inform knowledge graph either for Google or other platforms. It needs to be consistent. Consistency is good, and we should try to maintain that. Okay, consistent brand representation, and then citation loops. Okay, this one, I've actually been doing this for a long time, and it's really, I didn't have a name for it, but now there is a name for it. But this is don't just think about promoting your website. If you're on my email list, you'll see I don't just promote my blog post or my website. I'll promote YouTube videos. Sometimes I'll promote a LinkedIn post. Sometimes I'll promote an X post. Sometimes I won't promote anything. Just be no links, okay? But what I'm doing is I'm creating an environment, a loop environment. So let's say, for example, someone finds me on YouTube for the first time. They watch one of my videos. They say, oh, this is helpful. And they sign up for my email list, okay? So the YouTube video, then they're on my email list. Then I send them an email, okay? And that email then promotes a LinkedIn post. So then I send them a LinkedIn, okay? Then they're still on my email list. Next week, I send them a link to my YouTube video, right? And my YouTube video links to my X posts. Okay, so you're getting the point? Now we're seeing the citation loops. Now I'm sending this person all over the place to all my different assets, all my different pieces of content to create this trust environment, okay? So the days of just email to website, you don't need to do that. People will buy your stuff if you send them to a YouTube video. In fact, they're more likely to buy your stuff if you send them to a YouTube video. okay? Because they can actually learn about you and see who you are and get to know, like, and trust you. You cannot replicate video. You can't replicate the effect of video through text. You just can't. Even the most skilled copywriters on the planet cannot even match the power of video. It's just not the case. Okay. This is why people go to the movie theaters to watch movies. They don't go to the movie theater to watch text on a screen. Okay. It's very, very obvious that video is way more impactful. So anyway, create these loops. Don't be afraid to send your prospects all over the internet, all around your little ecosystem, your own web that you've built. Okay. Now, first party signals. Like I said, this is probably 20% of the equation now, but it's still critical. So critical. Do not neglect it. It's just more that these other signals, if you just, the reason why I want to emphasize is because if you just do first party, just your website, just your owned assets, it's more of a mentality of build it and they will come. If you're really, really good, you might be able to do that. If you're really good and consistent and patient, maybe. But for most people, you got to step outside and start promoting your stuff. Okay. You have to. It's the only way to really, really go to the next level. So first one, as far as first party signals, is just technical. This is all the stuff that all of us SEOs already know. I'm not going to get into it. It's quite simple. Make sure your website's crawlable and indexable. 100% HTML. Okay. These LLMs, they do not use JavaScript. They do not understand JavaScript. They will ruin you in these platforms. So avoid JavaScript basically at all costs. Okay. You can use it for certain functions on the page, but don't use it as your full, the whole page is JavaScript. And this is a very important point because I'm a big fan of using Replit and these AI centric kind of code builders. But be very careful with Replit and Lovable and these other ones because they always push out JavaScript type of content. And they'll claim that Google, no, they can't. The large language models do not crawl it well. Very dangerous. So if you're using those platforms, make sure, like in Replit, create one project for your front end and one project for your back end. Okay. The back end is you can use JavaScript because it's all going to be in a user area behind the login. But the front end, make sure you're using HTML. You have to train the AI to build it in HTML. And I can create a separate video about that. But in general, just make sure it's really, really important. Otherwise, you're going to get wrecked. The LLMs will not like your stuff, and more than likely, traditional search engines will not either. Okay. Making sure it's responsive, mobile friendly, loads fast, is secure. You're using good site architecture, internal links, and you're using the robots.txt file and the new large language models.txt file. Okay, so the LLMS.txt. I will show you very quickly. If you just go to rankability.com, I'll show you this. I've got some free tools that you can use. So just go to the free tools here, this little section. And you can see we've got the generator and the checker. So if you go in here, you don't even have to sign up or anything. Just go in here, you can generate the text file. And then you'll see here, you can go in here and you can actually validate it. Okay, so we'll just give you an example of the validation for rankability.com. And like I said, this is not proven to be used by the large language models, but it doesn't hurt you at all. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You'll see very simple stuff. It just basically gives an overview to the large language models or the crawlers about what you're all about. It's that simple. It takes probably 3 minutes to do. So, and there's absolutely no downside to it. All right. All right, let's continue on here. So as I mentioned, crawlability and indexability, we know we need to do that. Critical, get it right. And then schema markup. Every page that is important should have some sort of schema markup. Once again, not to kind of harp here on rankability, but if you go here and then go to the schema builder plugin here, you can see all of my most important pages on our site have schema markup. I did not build this myself. I just used ChatGPT to build this schema. Then I validated it, and that's it. Just use ChatGPT to build it for you. Once again, do everything. Your pricing page should have schema. So you've got product schema here. We'll go to, you basically go to any important page on our site, content optimizer. We've got product schema, and we've got software application schema. You get the point. Take the time to do this. Once again, is this going to be a massive factor that's going to greatly influence your performance? Not likely, but it's a small variable that could help. So why not? Why not do it? There's no downside to making sure your pages are marked up well. Okay, so just do it. Okay. And then the most important one, as you know, is content. I just want you to memorize this concept. Okay, circle of competence. This is a concept that came from Warren Buffett. And basically, you want to stay within your circle of competence. And it's the same with your website. Stay within that subject matter expertise and be very careful to start stepping out of it. If you go and look at the sites that have gotten wrecked as far as like serious traffic losses, not just kind of some traffic losses from AI, but like huge declines, is because they were creating content about stuff where they were not subject matter experts. Okay. So keep it tight, keep it focused, and be very, very careful with how far you go outside of it on I'm talking in terms of your website, but also across your other assets as well. YouTube and your social media platforms, like keep everything super tight around your core expertise. That way you can properly train the algorithms so that they really know what you're all about, instead of them trying to figure, wait, they're talking about this today and then talking about that tomorrow. Not the way the algorithm talks, but I'm just saying in general, that's how it works. Okay. And another simple concept here from Rankability, this is, how our business looks, which is like hitting at each of the stages of awareness. Okay. The 5 stages of awareness, you want to start at the bottom of the funnel and then work your way up to the unaware. But more than likely, you're going to spend most of your time in this region. Keep it hyper focused around what you do. Okay. That is critical. Don't deviate too far unless you have a really good reason. And then most importantly, every quarter, because we know that freshness is critical, and we see that the citations in AI overviews, the citations that show up in the large language models tend to be within the last couple of years, 2 to 3 years. You want to make sure that you're consistently updating stuff. So in general, I'd make it a quarterly process for your website to delete bad, irrelevant, low performing content. Typically what I'm looking at is just a combination of signals, which is, does this page have organic search traffic, Google Analytics? Does this page have impressions or clicks, Google Search Console? And then does it have backlinks? Okay, if it doesn't have any positive KPIs, and it's irrelevant, and it's thin, and it's not, doing anything positive, just get rid of it. Delete it. This is the thing with your website. You can rework your website. You can mold it to re-influence the LLM. So where you are today does not where you have to be in 3 to 6 months from now. Another very important point, which I didn't talk about, which is the LLMs like ChatGPT, GPT-4o is still from November 2024. So whatever you're searching in there, that training data is coming up on being a year old, coming up very soon. Okay. So if you think about it that way, and I'm sure this will increase a lot faster over the years as they get better with technology and the training data. But if you want to be in the next training data set, you got to start doing stuff today. Okay. Because you may have to wait a very long time to influence the static training data that's in there. Okay, so start today, do quarterly audits. You got to stay on top of it. So delete the bad stuff, consolidate the stuff that's maybe thin but still relevant, maybe build a super asset. We can talk more about that later. Redirect. If you got some stuff that's just not worth keeping, but it's got some positive signals, find a relevant alternative on the website and send those signals to a better page. And then most importantly, upgrade and update. This is my number one technique that I use on my website, is take an old asset and make it better. I'll show you an example of this. SEO tools for agencies. Okay, I don't know how well it's ranking. Let's see. Okay, right here. Okay, so we'll take this post, and this post, once again, is ranking really well because, very simply, obvious plug here, because this is what I used, Rankability, just optimized for the NLP. Okay, so went in here, made sure that we covered all of the important entities and concepts and topics on that page, and then made sure that it was a very unique piece of content. That's it. Okay, that's simple, and stayed within a kind of optimal word range to not overdo it, but not also be too thin. Okay, so it's that simple. This is using your competitors' success to your advantage, and this is what we do. And by the way, in Rankability, we're ranking with pure AI content too. It's not just human written content. The more competitive the query is, the more you should use pure human. But the less competitive, you're probably better off just using AI, at least for your first draft, and then using a couple of revisions with humans to make it better. So you can speed up that process a lot more. But like if you run this, for example, we'll just do SEO tools for agencies, and you click run optimizer, you can either create it your own, which is the manual process, or you can use the AI generated content. Okay. And we've got a bunch, it will create the brief, the outline, the draft, and it will already be optimized. Okay. And you can actually pick the type of page to match the intent of that query. Okay. This is really, really critical. Most people actually in the platform are using a lot for informational, but a lot of people use it for service pages on a local level because it's so incredibly good, assuming you use this prompt window really well. Okay. The prompt window is the key to success. Put your brand stuff in there, your unique selling propositions, all those things, and it will build a service page that's really, really focused and commercially driven. That will actually help you drive conversions. Okay. All right. So back to the website itself. So once again, quarterly. Do this every quarter. Keep it fresh, keep it updated, keep it clean. Okay. And then last point here is already am creating an AI search optimization checklist. Okay. This will be free, maybe just an email. It's probably about it. And then I'll give you the checklist and then we can start to rip through this. So just to give you kind of heads up on, where I'm going, a couple important things. Rankability is officially an AI search optimization platform. So we are building the tools and software that you need to get results easier and faster than ever. Okay, that's what we're doing. Currently building out an AI search brand tracking software, currently in development, hopefully can get it released here very soon. And then Gotch SEO Academy, once again, is pivoting. We are going to be focused 100% on building on how to do AI search optimization. Okay, so that's the training side, and also how to build an AI search agency, not an AI SEO agency, an AI search agency, which is not the future. It is what is happening right now. So if you like this video, please like it so other people can see it. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. And I will be probably doing this checklist in the next video, but I can't make any promises. So anyway, thanks for watching. Appreciate it.